How's it going, guys? How all are doing? Welcome to a brand new video tutorial from Hyperlinks. Today we're having a really nice thing to do. It's just a really quick practical example using the basic or the native HTML and CSS. Only HTML, CSS. We are pretty much going to create a landing page, a portfolio landing page. So yeah, here's the example we're gonna create by the end of this tutorial. It's just gonna be very simple and very basic. As you can see, a really nice thing container. I can see I'm a full stack web developer or something with a logo, and I love to code. And what do I know? And it just takes you to whatever languages or framework you're familiar with, and you can just reach us and stuff, and you can send a form, or you can contact the actual developer or the programmer and stuff like this. So as you can see, it's quite elegant, quite simple, and quite basic. So I'm just gonna go ahead and walk you through how I created this, so you would have the experience how to lay out everything in here, how to put that in here, how to do plenty of things if you are actually interested in learning how to create a portfolio. Pretty much this is not the best style we can find out there, but it's still very valuable. It works pretty much fine. And also, side of that, it's responsive. As you can see, if I can pull this off, I can see if I can resize this, as you can see, it resizes perfectly nice. Let me just quickly resize that into a smaller view, a notepad view. Oh no. It's just so ridiculous. Chrome is doing something. As you can see, it's super responsive. As you can see in here, it gets into the place perfectly with no problems, with the actual header container right here, with the section of languages and frameworks, and obviously the footer or the contacts form. You can obviously add more things in here, like the about us. You can add, more languages or more frameworks that you have already worked with. You can add, experience that you have worked, project that you have created or something, or helped creating, and plenty of other things you can do. But I'm just going to walk you through how we created this in a very easy way, actually. So let me just grab this back into here. And here's the source code that we are going to create by the end of this video tutorial. So as you can see, it's basic HTML, basic thing. Let me just go ahead and delete that. I just commented it out and didn't delete it. It's basic HTML, as you can see in here, and basic CSS, no Sass, no pre-compilers, nothing at all. So anybody from you guys, anyone from beginners to advanced users can actually follow along and understand whatever I'm doing in here with no problems. As you can see, I have a folder in here that's having all the images are used in here, so static things and stuff, and the index.html or style.css, so we can just start directly working with them right out of the box. So let me just go ahead and delete that. So we're gonna just start from scratch. Make sure to go ahead and find that on CodePen. You're gonna find the link in the description below for the CodePen thing. For pretty much the source code of this one, the full source code with the images. From where I grabbed the images is quite basic. I just Google search them for Laravel, for the code background, the React, the Angular, and whatever thing. So you can just go ahead and Google that out, and you can find whatever pretty much you're looking for. And as you can see, we have index.html that's going to represent our index, and the style.css. I'm here using Visual Studio Code, so I really recommend going with Visual Studio Code, or just go in and checking out the tutorials I made about this Visual Studio Code editor, pretty much why it's better than the others, and why I really recommend it for any new or even experienced web developer or any other developers. Pretty much you can go ahead and check it out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start doing this by creating the first HTML boiler palette right here. So first things first, let's start with the title and portfolio. Let's go ahead and see. Let me just say let's call this landing. Okay, the landing page seems quite interesting, and let's go ahead and include or link the actual style sheet. So style.css in here, and yeah, that pretty much what we need. Let me just go ahead and get rid of this common thing and stuff. Now I'm under the body, and I'm just gonna go ahead and create the first header, the header section that you already know about. It's pretty much the header, or should I better say the actual header. So I'm just gonna call this the header, and obviously I'm gonna give this a class name. So I'm giving this okay, probably just go ahead and give this a header. Very quick. for the class, so you can give it whatever. I'm using the header in here. I'm not using like normal div elements or normal, I don't know, span elements or something like this. I'm using this specific things, which works pretty much fine with HTML5. The fifth version of HTML pretty much. I'm gonna create another section which is gonna be pretty much the actual section. I'm gonna have a class of section, and I'm gonna give it experience dash section, which gonna represent our experience with languages and frameworks, which languages we do now, which frameworks we do now, and so on and so forth. And lastly, we're gonna have another section which gonna pretty much represent as well. Let me just go ahead and use Emmet. I'm gonna put a section in here. I'm gonna put a section, and I'm gonna also put contact dash section. Quite interesting, and as you can see, very basic. Now for the header, what we want, as you are seeing the actual preview, we're gonna have like a really small text, position it at the center of the actual header thing, and we're gonna have a background image, a blurred background image with some gradient colors overlay that's background image, so you can just have this really nice looking thing. If you really intended to do something like my website thing, so if you go to the main webpage or landing webpage of iPnews.com, you're gonna probably just find this really nice looking thing with the nice background and the overlay, and as you can see, the actual particles that going on in the background is using JavaScript. So since JavaScript is not actually we're not going to use JavaScript on this particular tutorial, that's why I made it. I did not include that. So you can just go ahead and search for particles and stuff. You can easily include it. It's not a big deal or whatsoever. Now, without further talking, let's go ahead and create another div, and I'm gonna call this, I don't know, header-info, which is gonna pretty much represent the actual information of the headers. The header info, I'm gonna first have the image. So the image is going to pretty much the actual background image and stuff. So I'm gonna go to the images, and I'm gonna grab the actual code background, or let me see, it's gonna be the start of photos. You can grab wherever, but I prefer this image because it looks a little bit better. I'm gonna have an H3, so a full stack web developer, and I'm gonna have an H4, and I love to code. So yeah, simple. It's quite simple, as you can see. And you're gonna have a button that's gonna take us to the actual section, or to the experience section or something like this. So here we go. This is the actual button, and for the class of the button, I'm just gonna keep btn for the actual button class, and see my works or something, my I don't know, experience or whatever. It's going to be a type of button, and here what we want to do, we're going to give it an A, so we can jump this hyperlink tag, going to allow us to jump from one div to another, like change the web view of the browser. So whenever we click it, it's just going to change the web view of the browser, and I'm just going to put this like right over there. So it's gonna like href something. For now, I'm just gonna keep it like this, and I'm gonna go back to this later on when I actually need it, when I actually need to make this working. And here we go. So this is pretty much as I'm seeing on my other monitor. I'm seeing the full source code, so I can just keep it up and show you actually and walk you through on each part of the code and explain what I'm putting this. So as you can see in H3, it's quite basic, just putting for the text to make it bigger than this one. So we want to display this in a bigger aspect ratio, and this one in a smaller one, so it looks like, aligned underneath each other's. And pretty much you're gonna have the image, it's gonna represent the actual background. Or pretty much this is not the background. I totally forgot about that. This is gonna be our logo, or the logo you are actually offering for your company, or for your your actual freelancing company or freelancing team or whatsoever. I'm just gonna put my iPnews logo, channel logo, the main channel logo. And for the actual background, I'm gonna use the after or the before CSS sub or sub classes or sub elements that's gonna assigned by CSS itself. So it's just gonna you can assign the after and the before sub classes to whatever elements, and you can just add there whatever content or whatever background you want. I'm just gonna explain this whenever we go to the CSS part over there. Now for the section, for the experience section, we're gonna have plenty of things, but first I'm gonna have a div with section header. So this section header is going to be languages and frameworks. So just going to like represent the languages and frameworks that we are already familiar with and we already know. And we're going to have another div which is going to be like container of all of the languages and frameworks that we do now. So it's just going to be like experience dash container. So this is going to be the container that contains everything. This container is going to have like 3 divs and stuff. So first I'm going to create a div with a container or experience item. So it's going to be experience dash item. So this is going to be like a single item, as you've seen before, like for example having, I don't know, Laravel, React, and AngularJS. So just going to be like represent this experience item going to represent Laravel or React or Angular, pretty much one single item, one single framework, one single language, or whatsoever you're having right there. So you're gonna have 2 things. I'm gonna use pad for this. I'm gonna give it like item logo, which is gonna represent the actual item logo. And here I'm gonna take an image. For example, I'm gonna put just images, and I'm gonna put the actual Laravel logo just for like testing purposes. And I'm gonna put the next span or the other span, which is gonna like hold the other text or the framework or language name. So this is gonna be like item name, and I'm just gonna put in here, I don't know, Laravel or something, just something pretty simple. And let me just go ahead and copy that for the 3 things. As you've seen before, I'm gonna put Laravel, React, and Angular. So just to make it simple and very like straightforward, nothing at all. So I'm just gonna change this to React very quick, and obviously I'm gonna change this to Angular. So this seems pretty nice right over here. And here for the actual contact section, we have it very basic as well. So it's gonna be section, contact section, and we're gonna have also a header div, which is gonna be section header, the class. All of the classes we're going to work on in the actual style sheet in a second, after finishing all of the markup language and like making all of everything together, so you can probably understand one piece or one thing at a time and just follow along in a really nice way. So this is what I'm intending to do. And for the section header in here, I'm going to put reach us, so you can quietly contact us, and you're going to have contact dash container. So I'm using Emmet in here. As you can see, like I can fastly type classes without just creating a div, then adding a class attribute to it, and like filling the class and so on and so forth. I just type in like, I don't know, class like this, and it automatically creates for me the actual div with a class that I mentioned and stuff like this. This is called an Emmet. It's Emmet's like, I don't know, plugin. It comes pre-installed with Visual Studio Code. That's what I was telling you, because I was recommending that to you. So you can also check it out on my channel. I have a full dedicated video on this, to just go ahead, search for this, or you can find it below in the description. So why not? You can just go ahead and check it out. What we were talking in here, we're gonna need a form. Obviously, this form gonna have an ID, pretty much. Probably believe just gonna be having an ID, and for this ID, I'm gonna put in like a contacts form. So nothing very special. I'm gonna have a couple of inputs for this one. So the first thing, I'm gonna put in a label. Just gonna be for name and for let me just quietly see. So that this name is gonna be, or the label is gonna have, I don't know, your name. So, and I'm gonna have an input, as you already know. The input is gonna be text, so it's gonna automatically create it with text, and I'm gonna give it probably, I'm not gonna give it any classes or something, just to make it like very simple and very straightforward. I'm just gonna give it a name, and it's gonna be the name. So make sure the name matches the label. You know why? Because it's gonna be like together. So HTML or the actual engine is gonna try to match this together to make it like perfectly aligned and stuff. Let me just go ahead and copy that. So, you know, I can copy it, paste it 3 times. And since we're having like 3 inputs, and the last thing is not an actual input, it's like actually more than a text area. So this label is going to be for, I don't know, well, the email. Okay, sorry, forgot about the email. Your email. So I should put SA, and obviously, and going to be email in here. Text, and here contents. So I'm just gonna contents, and here instead of input, you know, you're gonna need to put a text area. So there we go. We got a text area. It's gonna be contents or stuff. I'm gonna put the label for the contents, and the ID is gonna contents again. Because we're having like a very minimal application here, just very small projects. We don't have that much of large style sheet and classes and stuff. That's why I can name this whatever. But if you're having like a really huge website and trying to include that to it, you're going to need to find better naming for classes to fit your needs. To match with your API scheme, with your naming scheme, or with your naming convention, your application actually. So make sure to go ahead and do this if you're not actually doing the same thing in here. And I'm just gonna put a placeholder in here. Write your message. So as you can see here, we should probably find one last thing, which is gonna be the button. And I think for some reason I can't type in the button or something, but I still can do this. Well, sometimes it hangs up. So submit, and you're gonna be having a class of button and stuff. So yeah, this is it. And I'm gonna change the type from button to submit, as you already know, because I'm just gonna click enter and just gonna submit it for us automatically with no problems. So I think this is the whole structure we're gonna need for this one, for the contact, the experience section, and obviously the main header section. So as you can see, quite simple, quite basic. Now if you try to do this, try to refresh something, we get this in a really weird way, but I'm just gonna go ahead and start styling this right out of the box. So first things first, let's go ahead and start with an HTML and body. So always remember to start with an HTML body because they represent the main container for all the elements that comes afterward. So yeah, you can just specify the padding. So you're gonna tell it your page is gonna have no padding or no margin. It's gonna take the full width. Make sure to take it, or make sure to the body in the HTML tags takes the full width and the full height. So the elements, the children elements that comes afterwards, just gonna take the full width and the full height as well. So make sure to do that as well. I'm gonna have a width of 100% full width, and height is gonna be 100% as well. So we can probably clearly say this with no problems. I'm trying to, So we can probably just go ahead and see from this side. I'm gonna have margin. I'm just having my other manager over there, so yeah, I'm just checking the source code to make sure that I'm just fully aligned and I'm on the right road pretty much. So I'm gonna say margin is gonna be 0, padding is gonna be 0 as well. So I'm giving it no margin, no padding, and I'm just gonna set a global family. So all of the elements, all of the text is gonna have one single family. I'm gonna use the oxygen sans serif. It's quite a nice font, just very elegant and very nice thing. I really love this font. You can use whatever you think you like. So yeah. First things first, let's go with the header. So remember, it's the header thing, so we're gonna need to match it up. The header gonna take the width for 100%. So just gonna take the full width right here. So the full width of the page. The height. Now the height is the main challenge that you're gonna face whenever you try to make something like in my website right here. So as you can see, how you're gonna make it take the full web view width, as you can see in here. So whenever you fire up your browser, you access the website or you access the web page, you're gonna find it take the full height, not the width, the height of the actual screen of the user. So to do this, you'll not be able to use 100% like this. So this won't work. So what you can do with the CSS3 or the third version of CSS, you use the virtual height. So just type in 100% VH of a virtual height, and it's just going to take the full width, or the full height, I keep saying the width, the full height of the actual client screen. So whenever he comes or he goes into the landing page, you're just going to find it take the full height, and it can scroll down and stuff like this. So this is how you can do it if you this kind of been tricky for you and you couldn't figure out how you can actually do it. This is the right way. Now we're going to use the flex display. Remember, I explained the flex display. You can find it in the description as well if you really need to learn about the CSS flex display. Now we're going to need to justify content to sender and also align items to sender, so you can have them like all of them the sender from horizontally and vertically, so we can just like perfectly center them into the web page or into the container. Also going to need the text aligned to center as well, and position to relative, so we can have the children having a relative position to the actual container over there, and overflow of the X overflow. So I don't want to overflow it or something. The X overflow actually, which is the horizontal overflow, is going to be hidden. So yeah, as you can see, quite simple and quite basic. Nothing that much of interesting, and nothing is happening right here. If you try to do that, you can clearly notice that, you know, it comes to life, and you can find the logo, the actual text that we have added, and the ugly button that we have added as well, that comes into the actual center. And the most important part, the actual container, the header container, is taking the full height. So as you can see, whenever it comes into this, we find it the full height, then we can scroll all the way down and find the other section, and so on and so forth. We can check more of the things on the web page. Now let's go ahead and add the actual background. So the background we're going to need to use, as I've told you, the before or the after subclasses of any CSS elements. So I'm going to use the before, so it comes before any elements, and you can just go ahead and put all of the elements in front of it using an absolute positioning. So all like this logo and this text thing can come like above everything. This is why you need to use absolute positioning. So I'm gonna use right there, I'm gonna use the actual before, and the before actually need to take content, so you have to put the content in here to empty, otherwise it won't work for you. You're just gonna like ignore everything. So make sure to go ahead and put the content to empty. You can put whatever blah 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 in here, but just, you know, don't mess with this. I'm gonna put it with, as I told you, 100%. Well, I keep missing the percent thing. Hide with 100% as well. And pretty much the background. Now the background is quite an interesting thing. The background is going to like be a gradient alongside an image. So let's first go ahead and add the image. I'm going to add the actual images startup image, or startup photo JPEG. So yeah, as you can see, it's very simple. Just go ahead and put that. As you can see, we can find this, but it seems really, really ugly, like, you know, it collides with this one. So what we can do is take this one and put it in positioning, or position it in an absolute position, or give it like an absolute position so it goes right into the center right over there. So to do this, I'm going to need to assign the class for this one again. So as I told you, I'm going to need to use the header info. So remember that we have named it header dash info. So we're gonna put it like position absolute. So make sure to give it an absolute position over there. For the actual thing, I'm gonna change a little bit of things. I'm gonna put it like a font size of 35 pixels, so it could look a little bit better. I'm gonna give it a text shadow, so it looks a little bit sharp, and we can clearly notice this, like, you know, in front of, while there is a background like hiding beneath this. So I'm just gonna use this like text shadow thing to give our text a little bit more depth thing. So for 10 pixels, 5 pixels, and 25 pixels for the blur effects, and I'm just gonna give it like you know, an opacity or transparent gray. So transparent gray, I'm gonna use a half transparency, and that's it. So just go ahead and save this very quickly, and as you can see, it starts coming up to live right over there. So as you can see, we get a logo, we get the text, and we get I love to code right over there with our button and stuff like this, and we get this aligned perfectly and position it with an absolute position, so with no problems pretty much. So what you can do right now is using the filter. So we can filter this one. I'm just going to add the filter. So the filter to, you know, decrease the brightness and add a little bit of contrast to this one. So you're gonna need to make the text look a little bit more obvious, and you know, like hide a little bit of the background over there. So the filter, we're gonna need to put a filter. Well, what is the filter pretty much? Sorry, forgot. So the filter, I'm gonna add a blur effect first. So, you know, we're gonna need to make the actual background a little bit blurry. I'm gonna give it 5 pixels, and I'm gonna use the contrast. So the contrast, I'm just gonna give it about 80%, so it will look a little bit darker than it should. And also, what we're gonna need to do is on the actual background, we're gonna need to give it a WebKit, or an actual color gradient above this actual background. So I'm gonna use the WebKit dash gradients, and it's pretty much in a function. So it's a WebKit dash gradient, and we're gonna give it a linear gradient left top, from the left top to the actual right bottom. So this is how the actual or linear gradients function actually works with the CSS3. So yeah, you can just go ahead and check out the documentation, obviously, if you're learning a little bit more about this. I'm going to use the from, give it whatever color. I'm going to use RGB 15, so a little bit dark gray. And I'm going to use as well to the RGB, same RGB A. I'm going to use 15, and obviously 0.7. Yeah, I think we are doing this right over there with no problems, and hopefully this will work for us with no problems actually. So yeah, you can just go ahead and save this, and as you can clearly, we've got the WebKit thing. Let's just go ahead and copy this. I want to get a little bit of better thing. I don't want to get this it's completely dark, but I want to add a little bit of colors in here, like a red color and a blue color. If you can clearly take a look at my source code that I've just hidden right over here and copy pasted, I can go all the way up where I can find, as you can see, WebKit gradients, which you're gonna have from RGB. This is completely red, and obviously, or this is completely blue to the actual red. So we can clearly see this. Let me just go ahead and copy this to make it a little bit simple and faster for us. And I'm just gonna paste it, the same thing that we did there, but just with the different colors. And make sure to add like a comma, so we can differentiate between things. Now Control S, saving everything, going back, and as you can see, we get this like really nice blue from the left side and like red from the right side, and we can get some dark overlay, and we can clearly see this. Let's go ahead and change the color for the text, and I'm gonna give it like a color of FFF, which pretty much represents completely white. So we can save this, and here we go. We got to see this the same way that it should be. So you can add a little bit of more depth into this background using the particles I was talking about this, because it's gonna look absolutely gorgeous if you try to do this. So make sure to go ahead and check it out using JavaScript and stuff like this. But you can just go ahead and make it like this, or leave it like this, because it already looks gorgeous. So let's go ahead and like style this button a little bit. I'm gonna add the BTN class that we have used, and BTN class is gonna have a little bit of things. So first things first, the border gonna be 2 pixels, the solid, and I'm gonna use this really nice website if you're not already familiar with. It's called flatUIcolors.com, which is gonna give you a ready-made color for you. You can just go ahead, select from a huge color palette in a really nice and awesome mature UI colors. So I'm just gonna go ahead and copy the green one right over there. As you can see, it makes this really nice sound. Let me just go and mute this. I love this website. It just simply my best thing for color picking. This is for the borders. I'm gonna give it the width about, I don't know, 10 inches, and the height, well, I'm just gonna 2.4. And the font family, so pretty much I'm just gonna, like, the button won't take the global font family, so we're gonna need to specifically specify this. And the button CSS, well, for the color as well, I'm just gonna give it an FFF. Well, again, well, we're gonna have something a little bit special for the color here. We're gonna also need to give it like cursor, so a pointer, so we're gonna like show the pointer cursor instead of the regular mouse cursor thing to make it look a little bit better. I'm gonna use the radius, or the border radius. I'm gonna give it 4 pixels, and obviously I'm gonna add a transition. For transition, why we need to add a transition? Because on the hover effects of the button. What we want to, whenever you hover over the button, you're going to need to add or make the border a little bit more thicker, and obviously change the background to transparent so we can translate this or animate it very, very smoothly. That's why we're adding the transition in here. First, let me go ahead and add the transition property, which going to represent, or you pretty much need to tell it which property are going to be, what properties you need to animate. First, I'm going to use the border and obviously the background color. And I'm gonna need to give it the transition, duration. I'm gonna give it about 200 milliseconds, and obviously the last thing, it is the transition timing function. I'm gonna just use async out. So yeah, as you can see, quite basic, quite simple with no problems, nothing at all. Now what we're missing here is the actual background color, and I'm gonna add a very simple background color over there. So I think I'm gonna use this background color right over here, so it looks gorgeous already. I'm gonna just add this very, very simply right over there. So just saving this, we can go back, and as you can see, we can clearly see this in a really, really nice way. What I'm forgetting as well is the font size. I'm just gonna need to add a font size a little bit to make it a little bit bigger, and I'm just gonna say 16 pixels. And obviously going here, as you can see in here, we get this really, really ugly text thing. It's because the actual target link, or the the link that we have added in here, the hyperlink, so we need to change the style of this one. So therefore we're gonna need to add the A, and I'm gonna say text dash decoration, which is gonna be none, and obviously the color is gonna be FFF, so completely white. Going back, and here we go. We got our button right out of the box. Just go ahead and add the hover effect to this button. I'm just gonna say hover, and for this one, I'm gonna say the border is gonna be 4 pixels. Border width, pretty much. We're not actually changing the full border attribute over there, and also the background dash color. I'm just gonna use this, and I'm gonna put it to transparent, so we can clearly notice it changing very smoothly. As you can see, if you can just hover that, you see the border and you see the background coming off, and you can, what we want right over there, click that, it's just gonna take us right beneath this. So now the header is complete. Let's go ahead and move on to the other sections, the actual React section, or the languages and framework section, obviously the context section. So this one is going to be pretty simple and pretty straightforward. It's not going to be like a big deal or something. First, let's go ahead and add a section. If you can really remember here, we added one class that can match two things, so we can just reuse code over and over without retyping it more than once. I'm gonna put a display flex, since we're gonna use the flex display all over the place, and I am pretty much going to put a width of 100%. So remember, the code of the container is gonna take the full page width. That's why I'm doing this. And obviously, I'm gonna give it a little bit of margin top, so we could go a little bit. We can have a little bit of margin from the top. Okay, 3. Okay, this is the section. Now let's go ahead and add the experience dash section. Okay, the experience section is pretty much gonna be the same thing, nothing completely different or something. Sorry. So we're gonna have a flex direction a little bit different. So the flex direction is gonna be a column. So we want to show them in columns. If you have more than ones, you have 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, or something like this, more than one. But in this case, we only have in 1 row, so it doesn't really matter that much. For the width, that we have already set the width, so it doesn't really matter. We're gonna need to put the text align to center, and obviously we're gonna put the font family to. So yeah, the oxygen. Even though we set the global, it's always to do this over and over again, because sometimes it couldn't figure out the right font. It's just gonna use a default one, which is not good for you and your application and your design and stuff like this. So make sure to use it over and over again. Here's the experience, and I'm gonna need to use the section header here. So the section header, I'm gonna give it a little bit of style. The actual header that comes over here, we're gonna make it to come in the middle, so we can use the margin auto trick. We're gonna give it an auto margin from the right and from the left, and it's just gonna go right in the middle. I'm gonna give it a font size. Font size of 26 pixels. And I'm going to give it a little bit of padding. And from the top, I'm going to give it 10 pixels and 5 pixels from the actual left and right. To be fair, this is completely depending on your style things and stuff on your web page. So I'm going to give it a border bottom of 2, or let's go with 3 pixels solid. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the color that I like, which is the green color over there. And I'm just going to paste it. So yeah, using a preprocessor can help you a lot with these colors, just by saving them in variables and reusing the code over and over again. But this way, it looks pretty good with no problems, obviously. Now, yeah, this is the actual section here of saving this. As you can see, it starts coming up to live. As you can see, languages and framework, we got it into the right position just by putting margin to auto, so you can just put it the same, or the margin is equal from the left, both the left and the right sides with no problems. And I'm just going to give it this really nice bottom green color border to make it look a little bit better. So let's go ahead and add a little bit of style to our look of this. We're going to need to add the experience dash container, which gonna pretty much contain all of the experience and stuff like this. So the experience, actually the actual code of the experience, I'm gonna put a display of flex. Remember, we're gonna use flex everywhere. I'm gonna put a flex direction to, well, I'm gonna use the row. So remember, we're gonna show them 3 in a row. So all of them gonna come into a single row. That's why we're using this. I'm gonna put a justify content to center them. So we're gonna just center them, or pretty much we're not gonna send them exactly, but I'm gonna give them a little bit of space between them. So I'm gonna use a space around attribute to set this, so you can have a little bit of space between them. Not really that close, but having a little bit of space, it looks a little bit of good design. And obviously I'm gonna give it a margin of top to 6. Okay, seems pretty good. I can try to do this. As you can see, it comes into life, but it's still a little bit of bigger images. So we need to make the images look a little bit smaller using the actual experience item and the actual image and the logo and all of different things. So here, let me go ahead and add the experience item class. So the experience item, remember, it represents the actual item, one single item, either Laravel or whatever framework or language you're actually choosing. So experience item, and I'm gonna give it, remember, display flex. Always remember to use flex because it's just pretty good. Flex direction, well, I'm gonna give it a little bit. Let me just go and see the column. I'm just gonna go and justify content to, well, center. So we're gonna have everything in center, and I'm gonna align items to center as well. So yeah, to make it look completely center from both the height and the width, from horizontally and vertically with no problems. I'm gonna give it a padding of a little bit of 35 pixels to make it completely on the actual center. With a little bit of padding, looks gonna be pretty good. And well, I'm gonna give it a little bit of border dash radius, which I'm gonna use just 4 pixels. Seems quite nice right now. So yeah, this is quite interesting. As you can see, it comes to life after all, but we're gonna need to shrink this or resize the actual image width and height to make it look a little bit better. So therefore, we're going to need to access the actual item dash logo. I'm going to need to access the image. So just by using the the right arrow pointing arrow and giving an image, that means we are going to access this class or this element child. So we're going to access the actual image child, and we're going to need to give it a style. So I'm going to say with this one is gonna 100%, and obviously height is gonna be 100%. Why? So we want the actual image to take the full width of the actual container. Then we specifically set the width of the actual container. You will see this in a second. I'm gonna put right now the actual container. Remember, the actual container is the actual item logo container, or having the item logo class. So here we can set specific or a custom width and a custom height. Let's say it's gonna be 13 and height of, I don't know, a little bit of 12. Okay, to make it a little bit better. Now if we can try save this, as you can see, it gets smaller specifically into the right place as we want it to be. Now let's go ahead and add the text thing. So the item name, remember it's having like an item name class and the contact section and all different things. So I'm going to say item-section or item name. For the item name, I'm going to use the font family, which can already apply, so no problem. So I'm going to just give it a font size with 27 pixels and obviously the margin top. So I give it a little bit of margin from here, from the actual image, just to make it or take it down a little bit. 1.7, okay, 1.7. So all of this, I have them already, so you can just go ahead figuring it out. Real time of video gonna take huge time and a really long time, so we don't really want to spend or waste time on these things and waste the valuable video time stuff. So saving this one, as you can see, we get it a little bit better thing. Now the only thing left for us is just go ahead and changing the actual image context. So here we're gonna give it React, and obviously the last thing I'm gonna give it well, Angular. So to be fair, and if we try, as you can see, here we go, we got our languages and stuff like this. So React, Angular, and Laravel. Now coming back or going back into the other link, and now for this section, for the actual experience section, I'm gonna need to give it like a very specific ID, and I'm gonna call it experience. So I'm gonna need to call it an experience. Why I need to do this? Because whenever I want to go into a specific div, we need to click this button. We tell the button to take it to a specific div or area with a specific ID. So here, whenever on href attribute, we need to put the actual ID with a hashtag at the beginning to tell it that we want to give a specific ID or to a specific section of the web page. Now waiting for this to a little bit do this. You can see whenever we click that, specifically it takes us down into the experience section and so on and so forth. So now we got this right. Let's go ahead and move on into the reach us section right over here. Therefore, let's just go ahead and go to the style.css and add that as well. So I'm gonna have first the contact section. Remember, have the contact section is gonna be like a minimum width. So we need to give it a minimum height pretty much. So it takes at least a certain height before it can expand, but it can't shrink at all because we're gonna give it the actual minimum height it can reach to. So yeah, I'm gonna just give it a little bit of like 30 EM to make the page look a little bit better and taller and stuff. I'm gonna give it a background color. I'm gonna grab this right color from here. Going back. Also gonna give it a display of flex, and obviously I'm gonna flex direction, which doesn't actually matter, but I'm gonna put the column, and I'm gonna align all of the items to the actual center horizontally only, not vertically whatsoever. So I'm just gonna put it to center. And this is for the contact section. Now we need to access the contact container, the actual container that holds the actual form right here, all of the inputs in the actual button. So therefore, I'm gonna need to use the contact dash, and I'm gonna use container. Okay, the actual contact container, gonna hold all the different things. I'm gonna give it a certain width or specific or custom width. It goes with a 21 and margin dash top for 5 EM, so to make it look a little bit better. And I'm gonna give it a display, obviously, of flex. So as you know, we are actually using flex display over there. Now also we need to access the contact form. I don't know if I give it this ID or no, but I should if I did not already. As you can see, we've got this ID. You can search for this. We got it right. So make sure to always name your IDs on the style and the actual index.html and your HTML structure the same way. So yeah, for this context form, we're gonna need also give it a flex display to take all of the inputs into the right place, flex direction of column, and obviously width of 100%, so it takes the full width of the actual container, which is in this case the contact container, which has a 21 width of the actual of its container, which is the contact section. So this is how we can you can actually handle it and how it's being linked together. Now this is the context form. Moving on into the actual label. Remember, we're having a label right here, but it has no class and stuff. So we need to use the class selector or the child selector for the element in order to be able to access this. So I'm going to say context form and please access to the label. That's what we're going to actually do. I'm going to give it a color of FFF and the font family. As I told you before, sometimes it doesn't apply. In this case, it does not. So I'm going to use this and serve font family. This is for the label. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this very quickly. I'm going to put it right over there. I'm going to access now the input elements or the input child. And for the input child, is a little bit tricky actually. So for the input child, we're going to need put a little bit of padding. So okay, I'm gonna need to put, or let's just go ahead and keep the color or remove the color from this. I'm gonna give it a padding of 0 from the top and the bottom and 5 pixels from the right and left. So this represents top and bottom. This represents right and left. Go with the height. So I'm gonna give each input about 37 pixels, and the margin top, which gonna each one have 10 pixels from the top and 30 pixels from the bottom. So this completely depends on how you want it to be aligned, on which margin spacing you want it to be aligned, and in different aspects things that controls this specific scenario. So yeah, I'm gonna give it also a font size of 16 pixels and definitely border 0. So we want to remove the border. I'm gonna add a bottom border. This I'm just removing the whole border of the actual elements in here. I'm just gonna add a border, a bottom border. So yeah, I can overwrite the actual selector. So I'm just gonna give it a solid, and remember, I'm gonna go to the actual thing, grab this my favorite color, my favorite green color, and just paste it right over there. And yeah, obviously the last time I'm gonna give it a box shadow. I'm just gonna give it 0 pixel from the X, 0 pixel from the Y, 15 pixel for blur, and 3 pixel of expanding. And I'm gonna give it a gray transparent color, which is 15, 15, 15, and 0. To go with 0.3. Seems quite interesting. Quite perfect. Now, yeah, this is what we're gonna need to do. Also, we're gonna need to edit the actual context form. Well, I'm just okay, let's just go ahead and type this, no problems. So I'm just gonna context form, I'm gonna access right now the placeholder of the input. So I'm gonna access the input child, then saying placeholder. So we can add, or I can edit the actual placeholder of the input right over there. So this placeholder, and I can put things on it, and I can style it a little bit. But in this case, I'm just gonna put a font family of oxygen and serve. For the placeholder, it doesn't it won't look for the font family on a global space. That's why we are actually adding it here. So it would use default fonts. So yeah, we just set it right over there. I'm just gonna put in also a font size of let's say 15 pixels. Seems quite interesting. And also the last thing we're gonna need to worry about is the text area. So I'm just gonna contact dash form. And the last thing, I'm going to need to access the actual text area. And for the text area, there isn't that much of things to worry about, but I'm just going to give it a max width and a max height. So, to make sure that it won't take more than this. So max width is going to be 100%. Max height is going to be, well, not the height, or the minimum width and the minimum height. So we need to make sure that when the user tries to drag this area thing, it won't go like this. So yeah, you can control it a little bit better using the max width and the max height properties. And I think this is pretty much it what we're gonna need to do. Well, I think this is the text area. So and the context form placeholder of the text area. Also, we need to access this. So let me just go ahead and add a little bit of margin to the bottom so we can give it a little bit of margin, 60 pixels, and a font size of 16 or 15 pixels. Okay. The last thing we're going to need to cover is, well, I'm going to cover also the actual placeholder. So, okay, we've got a placeholder. I'm gonna also put some, well, it's gonna be the same thing somehow. So I'm gonna put right over here. I'm gonna put it at the height of 60 pixels to make it look aligned and stiff. And I think pretty much it. So also we need to grab some font family right over here, and yeah, that's it for this. If we try to go right over there, and I think I'm missing something. And also make sure to add in here the minimum height so you can prevent from that happening. Let's say it's going to be a 40 pixels, so it takes 40 pixels at minimum. Also, don't really forget about the placeholder. Make sure to put in under the inputs, placeholder full name and email for both of them actually, and save that. We go back, and as you can see, we get this like right over there. With no problems. Now we also gonna need to go to, actually I can go to the button, so the button style, and I can say, where is that? And I can say you can have like a margin of auto, so we could take pretty much to the center, so from the left and right. Remember, as you can see, we got this right, and we can I don't know, give it a little bit of margin to the bottom. So I'm gonna give it 30 pixels, so it will look a little bit better. And here we go, we got this right. We got now your name, your email, and your content. You can put your content, and obviously you can go ahead and submit this. You can also reach us right over there. For the reach us, you can use, I don't know, a custom style, and you can say the color of this is gonna be completely white, like color FFF, well, like this. And it should look actually as you want it to be. So that was actually, guys, we finished the actual thing, finished our landing portfolio page successfully with no problems. As you can see, it's quite simple and quite basic. You can add a little bit more into this one. As you can see, it looks pretty basic. So if you really want to turn this into an actual portfolio page, you're pretty much going to need to add a little bit of elements, a little bit of JavaScript, a little bit to make it look a little bit live, more frameworks and languages you like, more alignment of this one. Obviously, you're going to need to add a little bit of about us section, but I just wanted to show you this, guys, very quickly so you can clearly know how things actually getting done using CSS and HTML, and you can master things up from this, guys. So thank you guys for watching. That was actually for this video tutorial. That was a really little bit longer video tutorial, so it's advised to go ahead and watch it. In a faster, duration time or a faster speed on YouTube configuration. I really wish that you did this. If you did this, thumbs up, subscribe, why not? And make sure to go ahead and share the tutorials with your friends. If you have like friends programming or love coding and stuff like this, love tutorials like this, make sure to go ahead and share them with them. Shout out, and why not subscribe for more videos. So that's actually, guys, I've told you before. Thank you guys for watching. You're gonna find the source code right on the website or on CodePen, link in the description below. Make sure to go ahead and check it. If you really liked it, just take it and make it super simple and super gorgeous. So as I've said, see you guys, all of guys, in the next video tutorial.